Today's lesson is on Punnett squares, but before we hit the ground running with this, we need to do some background work. First, there's Gregor Mendel. Gregor Mendel is considered the father of genetics because of his work with pea plants. Without knowing the structure and function of DNA, he determined that genes were passed from one parent to their offspring. From his discoveries, he developed two laws. First, his law of segregation, that states that only one of the two alleles from each of the two parents is passed along to the offspring. This means that one parent could carry the gene for brown eyes while the other parent carries the genes for green eyes, but only one eye color from either parent is passed down. Second is his law of independent assortment. This law states that different alleles sort themselves independently of other alleles. This means that a parent carrying the gene for brown eyes won't interfere with the gene that parent carries that determines the hair color of the offspring. Now, I know during that introduction there were some words that I said that might seem foreign to you. Here's a list of vocabulary that is essential for this lesson. First, there's the gene. A gene is the biological unit of inheritance. We all have them. There is an allele, which is a form of a gene. It could be recessive or dominant. A recessive trait is not noticeable in the offspring, while the dominant trait is noticeable in the offspring. There's a homozygous pair of alleles, and these are the same. They could either be both dominant or both recessive. Then there's the heterozygous. It's a pair of alleles that are different. There's one recessive and one dominant allele. Now comes the fun part. We're going to do what's called a monohybrid cross. That just crosses the same trait from both parents. Today we are considering the frequency and ratio of brown eyes versus blue eyes with parents that both have a heterozygous pair of alleles. To set up a Punnett square, we will make a box sectioned into 4 parts, much like a window pane. When filling out a Punnett square, dominant traits are symbolized with capital letters, while recessive traits are symbolized with lowercase letters. Next, we add one pair of alleles to the top of the square. And on the left side of the square, we add the other pair of alleles. Do you remember how we learned how to use a timetables chart? Well, this works in the same way. Here we will combine the two dominant traits and write our result in the top left corner. Now just to fill out the rest of the square. Here we combine the dominant trait from the left with the recessive trait on the top and write that result in the top right corner. We're halfway there. Moving on, we combine the recessive trait from the left with the dominant trait from the top and record the results. To finish off our first Punnett square, we will combine the recessive trait from the left with the recessive trait on the top and record our results in the bottom right-hand corner. Do you like what you see? I sure do. As for our results, we can see that we have one dominant homozygous pair of alleles, one recessive homozygous pair of alleles, and two heterozygous pairs of alleles. For this example, brown eyes are dominant over blue eyes. We can also see that there is a 75% chance that the offspring will have brown eyes, while only a 25% chance the offspring will have blue eyes. Now let's try our own. Let's figure out the hair color for this offspring. Let's say that one parent has a homozygous dominant pair of alleles, while the other parent has a heterozygous pair of alleles. Let's also say that red hair is dominant over blonde hair. Did you get this? Now it doesn't matter if we didn't use the same symbols or put the traits in the same spot. All that matters is you got 100%. All the offspring will have red hair.